This video is about she got lost at the university library and a rich stranger started a conversation. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts and comments. The university library was a labyrinth of shelves and secrets, each aisle whispering the knowledge of ages past. Amy Foster, a second-year literature student, wandered through the rows, her fingers grazing the spines of countless volumes. She had always found solace among the words of others and escape from the world outside. Today, however, she felt a creeping sense of disorientation. Amy had set out with a clear purpose, a stack of books in her mind that she needed for paper on feminist literature. But somewhere between the poetry section and the historical texts, she had lost her way. The cramped spaces and towering shelves twisted her sense of direction. She glanced at her watch, a silver trinket that had been a gift from her late grandmother, and sighed. She had only intended to stop for 30 minutes, but now an hour had slipped away. Great, I am going to fail this course, she muttered to herself, shaking her head. Frustration clawed at her, but she pushed it aside, reminding herself that this library had been her refuge for years. With a determined half, Amy retraced her steps, mindful of the other students immersed in their studies, each lost in their own world. As she turned the corner, she collided softly with a tall figure, books crashing to the floor. "Oh," she exclaimed, looking up to meet the startled blue eyes of a man she'd never seen before. He was strikingly handsome, with tousled dark hair and a tailored navy blazer that hinted at wealth. "I am so sorry," he said, his voice smooth and rich, like velvet. He knelt to gather the scattered books, his hands brushing against hers as she helped him. "No, it was my fault. I should have been paying attention," she replied, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks. Amy quickly snatched a copy of the bell jar from the floor. She had read it 3 times, but still enjoyed its familiarity. "I see you're a fan of Plath," he said, eyeing the book with a knowing smile. "She certainly knows how to capture the depths of despair, dose and tissue." Amy nodded, her heart racing slightly. She felt a strange pull towards the stranger, a flicker of intrigue that went beyond their brief encounter. "She does, but there is so much beauty in her darkness too, that's almost comforting." He studied her, a smile playing on his lips. "You read clearly an English major. I am Ryan, by the way." He extended a hand as she took it, feeling the warmth of his grip sending an unexpected thrill through her. "Amy, nice to meet you," she said, trying to maintain her composure despite the flutter in her stomach. Amy was used to her studies, not to the magnetic presence of a man like Ryan. "What brings you to this part of the library, a hidden treasure?" he asked, tilting his head slightly, the sunlight pouring in from a nearby window highlighting the sharp angles of his face. "I was looking for books on feminist literature for a paper," she admitted, glancing around as if the shelves might offer her an escape route. "But I think I've lost my sense of direction along with my books." "The library can feel like a maze, especially if you don't know where you are going," he said, amusement flickering in his eyes. "I could help you find your way, if you'd like." "Really? That would be great," she said, surprised by her own eagerness. "Thank you." As they walked together, Amy couldn't help but steal glances at Ryan. He had an aura of confidence that was both intimidating and captivating. The way he spoke, with a certain cadence that drew her in, made her acutely aware of his presence beside her. "So, Amy," he said casually, flipping through a nearby shelf, "what's your take on the current state of feminism in literature?" The question caught her off guard, and she hesitated. Well, I think it is evolving. There is a broader spectrum of voices than ever before, but some argue that the earlier works are being overshadowed," she replied, trying to project confidence. "Interesting. I've never really thought about it that way." He leaned against the shelf, interested, and for a moment Amy felt a jolt of connection that made her heart race. "I guess I am more into business literature, but I admire the passion behind what you're studying." "Business?" She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I wouldn't expect a business major to be so engaged in feminist discussions." Ryan chuckled softly, his gaze locking onto hers. "Well, I believe all fields need a touch of passion, plus, understanding different perspectives can only help in the long run." Amy felt a flicker of appreciation for his perspective. "I agree, it is important to challenge our own beliefs," she said, her voice steadying. "Maybe we can challenge each other's beliefs over coffee sometime," he suggested casually, but the glimmer in his eyes hinted that there was more behind his words. Amy felt her cheeks heat. I'd do like that, but I should probably finish my paper first." "Of course, priorities," he replied, a teasing lilt in his voice. "But I'll hold you to it. The offer stands." They continued to walk through the library, the atmosphere thick with a sense of possibility. Amy's thoughts danced between excitement and weariness. She barely knew this man, yet she felt an undeniable chemistry. "Here we go," Ryan said suddenly, stopping in front of a shelf filled with books on feminist theory. "You should find everything you need here." "Thank you so much," Amy said, her heart racing as she looked at the titles. "I really appreciate your help." "No problem at all. I am always here to help a fellow bibliophile," he said with a charming smile. "But now I have to get back to my own reading. I am sure you'll find your way out just fine. Wait, can I at least get your number?" Amy blurted, surprised at her boldness. The words hung in the air like a fragile promise, both thrilling and terrifying. Ryan raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised but pleased. "Sure," he replied, pulling out his phone. "But remember, I am holding you to that coffee." As she typed in her own number, Amy felt a rush of warmth. Maybe this wasn't just another ordinary day among the stacks. Perhaps it was the beginning of something unexpected. "I'll text you," Ryan said, sliding his phone back into his pocket. "And who knows, maybe we can turn this literary journey into a grand adventure." Amy felt her heart flutter at the thought. "I do like that." They exchanged one last smile, an unspoken promise crackling between them, before Ryan turned to leave. Amy watched him walk away, a wide grin spreading across her face. The world outside the library felt different now. The sunlight streaming through the large windows seemed brighter, and the air buzzed with possibility. She could still feel the warmth of that fleeting moment, the connection that had sparked so unexpectedly. Yet, beneath her giddy excitement, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if Ryan was just a charming stranger, a fleeting encounter in the vast universe of her life? What if he didn't text her after all? Amy shook her head, trying to push the worries aside. She was going to focus on her paper, her studies, and not let her heart wander too far into the realm of what-ifs. But as she dove back into her research, she couldn't help but glance at her phone every few minutes, a small part of her hoping to see his name light up the screen. Maybe this was more than just a coincidence. Maybe it was fate. The days that followed Amy's encounter with Ryan passed in a blur of lectures, assignments, and the usual chaos of university life. Yet, no matter how hard she tried to focus, her mind would drift back to that moment in the library, the warmth of his hand, the allure of his gaze. She had replayed the conversation countless times, wondering if her feelings were just a fleeting infatuation or something deeper. Each morning, she would check her phone with a mix of hope and trepidation, only to be met with the same familiar silence. She pushed down the disappointment that threatened to rise, convincing herself that it was just a connection born from the excitement of an unexpected meeting. Amy buried herself deeper into her studies, immersing herself in the world of feminist literature, but the thrill of Ryan's presence lingered like a sweet ache. It was during one of her late-night study sessions that she finally received the text. The notification chimed softly, and her heart raced as she glanced at the screen. Ryan, "Hey Amy, I hope you found your way out of the library maze. Let's grab that coffee soon." It was simple, yet it sent a rush of warmth through her. Amy could hardly contain her smile. This was an opportunity to continue their conversation, to explore the chemistry that had flickered into existence between them. She quickly typed her response, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. Amy, I did, thanks to your help. Coffee sounds great. When are you free? She hit send, her stomach fluttering with anticipation. The thought of seeing him again sent a mixture of excitement and anxiety racing through her. Would their connection be just as palpable the second time around? Would they share the same spark, or would it fizzle out, leaving her disappointed? Within moments, Ryan replied. Ryan, how about tomorrow afternoon? I know a great cafe nearby. Amy's heart soared. She quickly agreed, and as she set her phone down, she couldn't shake the feelings of nervousness and exhilaration swelling inside her. She spent the remainder of the evening picking out an outfit, wanting to look casual but effortlessly put together. The next day arrived with a crispness that felt charged with potential. Amy dressed with care, a soft, forest green sweater paired with dark jeans and ankle boots that she hoped would give her a bit of confidence. She spent a few extra moments in front of the mirror, practicing nonchalant smiles, but each time she felt a flutter of butterflies in her stomach. When she arrived at the cafe, a familiar scent of roasted coffee and baked goods enveloped her like a warm embrace. The place was buzzing with students, laughter, and the clinking of cups, but all Amy could focus on was the anticipation of seeing Ryan again. She settled at a small table in the corner, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her sweater as she waited. Just as her doubt began to creep in again, what if he didn't show? She spotted him. Ryan walked in, looking effortlessly stylish in a fitted white shirt and jeans, his hair slightly tousled as if he had just come from a meeting. When he caught her eye, he broke into a smile that lit up his face, and Amy felt her heart skip a beat. "Hey," he said, making his way over to her table. "You look great." "Thanks, you too," she replied, feeling a blush warm her cheeks. The way he looked at her made her feel seen, a sentiment that sent little sparks of electricity through her. He slid into the seat across from her, sitting down a steaming cup of coffee. "I took the liberty of ordering for you. Hope you like cappuccinos." "Sounds perfect." Amy beamed, her nervousness slowly dissipating. They fell into easy conversation, sharing stories about their classes, their passions, and even their favorite books. The initial tension began to dissolve, replaced by a comfortable camaraderie that felt both refreshing and intoxicating. "I have to admit," Ryan said, leaning in slightly, his eyes dancing with mischief, "I was a bit surprised when I saw you were a literature major. I expected someone who reads business literature all day to be, well, less interesting." "Less interesting?" Amy laughed, rolling her eyes playfully. "I think you underestimate the power of a good novel. They shape our worldviews." "Touch," he replied, his expression turning thoughtful. "But how does that translate to the real world? Sometimes I feel like literature is a luxury we can't afford in a world so driven by numbers." Amy sensed the tension shift, the conversation taking a more serious tone. "Literature gives us empathy, Ryan, that teaches us to understand perspectives beyond our own. In a business world, that is invaluable." "Fair point. You make a convincing argument. Maybe I should reconsider my stance," he said, his tone playful again, but Amy noticed a flicker of sincerity behind his smile. "Only if you promise to keep an open mind," she replied, her heart racing at the thought of him actually considering her words. They continued to exchange ideas, their laughter punctuated by the occasional shy glance, the chemistry palpable. Amy felt her earlier worries fade into the background. Here, in this moment, with him everything felt right. But as the conversation flowed, Amy couldn't help but notice how Ryan's gaze occasionally wandered to a group of students sitting nearby. They were animated, loud, and undeniably captivating. Amy felt a flicker of uncertainty at the sight. Was she losing his attention? "Do you know them?" she asked, nodding at the group, trying to keep her voice casual. "Yeah, they read in my business class," Ryan replied, his tone light. "Great group, we often study together." "Oh, I see," Amy said, biting her lip. A pang of jealousy twisted in her stomach. "Sounds like you have a solid support system." "Definitely, but I must say," Ryan leaned closer, "I prefer this conversation way more than discussing stock prices." His proximity sent a rush of warmth through Amy, and she felt herself leaning in too. "I am glad I could provide a welcome distraction." Just then, one of the students from the group, a tall, blonde woman, rose and made her way over. Amy felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she approached their table. "Ryan, we were just talking about our group project. You should join us," she said, her tone bubbly, eyes sparkling as she looked at him. Amy forced a smile, feeling an uninvited twinge of insecurity wash over her. "He is busy," she replied a bit too quickly, narrowing her eyes. "We were just having coffee." "Really? Sounds fun." The woman's gaze flickered between Amy and Ryan, an amused smile playing on her lips. "But we could really use your input, Ryan." "I'll think about it," Ryan said diplomatically, his eyes still holding Amy's. "Okay, see you later." The woman winked at Ryan before heading back to her friends, leaving an echo of uncertainty in her wake. "Sorry about that," Ryan said, his expression shifting back to Amy. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I am fine," Amy replied, forcing an upbeat tone. But beneath her smile, doubt gnawed at her. "Just a little caught off guard, I suppose." Ryan frowned slightly, sensing the shift in her demeanor. "You seem a bit off. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." "It is just I didn't realize you were so popular," Amy said, trying to keep her tone light, but the underlying tension was palpable. "Popular?" He cocked an eyebrow, visibly confused. "I am just a regular guy trying to get through school." "Right," Amy said, her voice a bit sharper than intended. "But I get it. You have your friends and your studies, and I am just, well, a literature major." "Amy, you're not just a literature major. You're engaging and smart. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be," he said firmly, leaning forward, his gaze intense. She felt a rush of warmth at his words, but her insecurity still loomed in the background. "It is just a bit overwhelming, that's all. I guess I worry about fitting into your world." Ryan's expression softened, and he reached out, brushing his fingers against hers, sending a spark between them. You don't have to change to fit into my world. I am genuinely interested in you, Amy. His words sent a thrill through her, but as they lingered in the air, Amy felt the weight of her internal conflict. Could she truly step into his world? Let us not overthink this, he added, his voice a gentle murmur, attempting to bridge the gap that had formed. How about we just enjoy our coffee? Okay, she breathed, a smile breaking through her uncertainty. Let us do that. As they resumed their conversation, the earlier tension began to fade. Despite the earlier interruption, Amy found herself drawn deeper into Ryan's world, his laughter, his insights, and the way his eyes danced when he spoke about things he loved. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting warm rays through the cafe windows, Amy felt the tension begin to melt away. She and Ryan effortlessly resumed their conversation, their laughter mingling with the ambient sounds of espresso machines and chatter from nearby tables. So, tell me, Ryan leaned back slightly, his eyes sparkling with mischief, what is the most ridiculous thing you've ever done for class? Amy chuckled, her shoulders relaxing as she thought back. Though, definitely the time I dressed up as Virginia Woolf for a presentation. I wore a long skirt and a floppy hat, but I ended up looking more like a confused garden gnome than a literary icon. Ryan laughed heartily, the sound rich and genuine. I would have loved to see that. Did you at least channel her spirit? I tried. I even recited a quote from A Room of One's Own with my best British accent, but it was more akin to an American tourist trying to navigate a London pub. She grinned, feeling the warmth of his gaze. What a tragic sight, he teased, leaning in closer. You were probably the star of the show in your own way. Confidence is key, right? Exactly, that's what I told myself while I was prattling on about gender equality, looking like I was ready to plant flowers instead, Amy replied, her heart fluttering at the playful banter. And yet here you are, a captivating literature major who is impressing me with her insights, he said, his voice dropping slightly, the sincerity returning. You have a knack for making the driest topics come alive. Her cheeks flushed at his compliment. Thanks, but it's easy to get lost in the words. They're like old friends who never judge you. Ryan's expression softened, and for a moment the playful atmosphere shifted into something more intimate. I get that. There is something about stories that feels like home, isn't he there? Yes, exactly. Amy felt her heart race, the connection between them deepening. They shared a moment of understanding, an unspoken acknowledgement of how literature intertwined their lives. But just as she felt herself slipping into that emotional space, her thoughts flickered back to the earlier interruption. What about you? She asked, trying to divert the conversation back to him. What is the most ridiculous thing you've done for business? Ryan's brow furrowed slightly in thought. I once had to analyze the business model of a local ice cream shop for class, and I ended up officially becoming a taste tester for the project. Tough gig, right? Amy laughed again, her insecurities easing as they bantered back and forth. Yet lingering in the back of her mind was the image of that blonde woman. She pushed it aside, reminding herself that Ryan had chosen to be here with her, had shown genuine interest, despite the distractions of his social circle. The conversation flowed, moving from hilarious anecdotes to thoughtful discussions about their dreams after college. Amy found herself captivated by Ryan's insights and his ambition, which made her heart flutter with a mixture of admiration and anxiety. I think I want to write a book someday, Ryan said, his expression turning serious. Something impactful, maybe about the intersection of business and ethics. Wow, that sounds incredible, Amy responded, her voice filled with enthusiasm. You'd be able to bridge those worlds beautifully, I bet. Thanks, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it once I get started, he smiled, his gaze lingering on her. It would mean a lot to have your perspective. The sincerity of his words ignited a sense of warmth within Amy. As they spoke, she realized that their connection was deepening into something richer and layered. But the thought of that blonde woman danced back into her mind. Did Ryan really want her perspective, or was she just another stop in his journey? Just then, the cafe door swung open with a jingle interrupting her thoughts. The blonde woman from earlier sauntered back in, her laughter echoing as she joined her friends at a nearby table. Amy's heart sank. Ryan's attention drifted momentarily, and Amy felt a pang of vulnerability. They seemed like a fun group, she said, trying to keep her tone light. You have a lot of friends in the business department. Yeah, they're really cool, he replied, but Amy noticed a slight tension in his voice. But I am not here for them, I am here for you. Amy swallowed, her heart racing at the weight of his gaze. It is just, I didn't know you were so popular, she said, trying to sound casual but feeling her insecurities bubbling to the surface. Ryan frowned, leaning closer. Can I be honest? Of course, Amy replied, her breath hitching slightly. I don't want to be just another popular guy. I want to be someone who gets to know you, who values your thoughts and what you have to say, he said, his voice low and sincere. Amy felt her heart flutter as he spoke. I appreciate that, sometimes it feels overwhelming being around people like that, she admitted, the fear spilling out before she could stop it. Ryan reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. You don't have to feel that way around me. I am not here to judge or compare. I am just enjoying getting to know you. His touch sent a rush of warmth through her, but Amy couldn't shake the niggling uncertainty. But what if I am not enough? She whispered, vulnerability creeping in. Ryan's expression darkened as he looked at her, his fingers still gently holding hers. You are more than enough, Amy. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be here. The weight of his words hung thick in the air, both comforting and terrifying. Amy felt a rush of emotion, her heart beating faster. I am sorry, I didn't mean to. It is okay, he interrupted softly. I just want to be real with you. I see you, I want to explore whatever this is. The intensity of his gaze made Amy's stomach twist in both excitement and fear. I want to explore it too, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. A smile spread across Ryan's face, and for a moment, the world around them faded. Their connection felt electric, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. But as they shared that moment, the laughter from the nearby table cut through, and Amy's insecurities bubbled back to the surface. Maybe we should get back to our coffee, she suggested, trying to lighten the mood, though her heart felt heavy with doubt. Sure, Ryan agreed, but his expression shifted slightly, sensing her pullback. But I'd like to keep talking about us. Asa. Amy echoed, her heart racing again. I'd love to, But what? He pressed gently, his tone urging her to be honest. I guess I am just worried about expectations, she admitted, biting her lip. What if I can live up to what you want? Ryan studied her, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. Amy, I am not looking for perfection, I am just interested in you. Can we just take it one day at a time? His sincerity made her heart ache. Yeah, I do like that, she said quietly, feeling the warmth of his hand over hers. Good, he smiled, the tension easing slightly. Let us make this about enjoying each other's company without worrying about what comes next. Okay, she nodded, a small smile creeping onto her face as relief washed over her. Let us do that. As they resumed their conversation, the atmosphere shifted once again, the earlier tension replaced with a comfortable intimacy. They talked about their dreams, their struggles, and what they hoped to achieve after graduation. Amy felt a sense of connection deepening between them, an unspoken bond that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Ryan's laughter filled her heart, and their laughter blended seamlessly with the cafe's ambience. Even as doubts lingered in the corners of her mind, she felt the pull of possibility guiding her forward. But as their coffee cups emptied and the sun dipped below the horizon, the world grew darker outside. Amy couldn't shake the feeling that their moment was fleeting, a beautiful interlude in the chaos of life. But they clung to this connection as the reality of their lives crept back in. As they prepared to leave, Ryan stood and offered her his hand. Shall we? Amy took it, feeling that familiar spark flicker between them. Yeah, let us see where this adventure takes us. With their hands intertwined, they stepped into the cool evening air, the city buzzing with life around them. In that moment, Amy felt a surge of hope, a promise that perhaps they could navigate the uncertainties and complexities together. As Amy stepped into the cool evening air, the vibrant city of Boston buzzed around them, illuminated by the golden glow of streetlights. The cafe felt like a cocoon of warmth and laughter, but now the world outside felt expansive, almost overwhelming. Ryan's hand was warm in hers, grounding her in the moment. They walked side by side, the chemistry between them simmering just beneath the surface. Every so often, Amy would steal glances at Ryan's profile, noting the way the city lights reflected in his blue eyes. There was something magnetic about him, a blend of confidence and warmth that made her heart race. So, Ryan said, breaking the comfortable silence, what do you want to do now that we've conquered coffee? Amy chuckled softly, the sound mingling with the distant hum of traffic. Conquer the world, or maybe just a stroll along the Charles River? I like the sound of that, he replied, his smile revealing a hint of mischief. But you'll have to keep up. I have a competitive streak. Competitive? Amy raised an eyebrow, intrigued. In what way? Reading, coffee, drinking? He laughed, a sound that sent a thrill through her. Actually, I am an avid runner. I might challenge you to a race one of these days. A playful smile spread across Amy's face. A running challenge. You might want to reconsider. I am a literature major for a reason. I don't chase after things unless they read on a page. I'll hold you to that, Ryan said, his playful demeanor igniting a lightness within her. As they approached the riverbank, the soft lapping of water against the shore set a serene backdrop. Amy felt her heart swell with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring them together, yet a tiny voice in her head whispered doubts. Is this too much? She wondered, glancing at Ryan, whose gaze was fixed on the water. Beautiful, isn't it? He said, breaking her train of thought. He looked at her, and she felt the weight of his attention, a gaze that made her feel both seen and vulnerable. It is, she replied softly. I've always loved this view. It feels infinite. Ryan nodded, his expression thoughtful. I get that. It's like a reminder that there is more beyond our immediate worries, like this moment right now. Amy felt a warmth bloom in her chest. Exactly. Sometimes I think we forget to just be, with all the noise around us. True. Ryan stepped closer, their hands still intertwined. And it's easy to get lost in our own heads, especially in a place like this, but you seem to have a good grasp of what matters. I try, Amy admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I can't help but feel a bit overwhelmed sometimes. Ryan's expression shifted, concern flickering in his eyes. Overwhelmed by what? Life, expectations, everything, she replied, her heart racing as she opened up. Sometimes I feel like I am standing on the edge of a cliff, trying to figure out if I should leap or retreat. Believe me, I understand that feeling, Ryan said, his voice steady and calm. I think we're all just trying to navigate this chaotic journey together, and it's okay to lean on someone. Amy couldn't help but smile at his sincerity. You make it sound so easy. It can be, when you find the right person to share it with, he said, his gaze intense. Amy felt her breath catch. There was an unspoken promise in his words, a spark that ignited her imagination. Ryan, she began, her heart racing at the thought of voicing her emotions. I really enjoy spending time with you. I didn't expect to feel this much connection. Me neither, he replied, and she noted the earnestness in his voice. But I think it is beautiful. Beautiful? Amy echoed, her heart fluttering. That is a strong word. Maybe, but it fits, he said, stepping closer, their fingers still intertwined, sending a pulse of warmth through her. What we have, it feels special. Amy felt her cheeks flush at his admission. I don't want to rush things. I am not sure what I am ready for. That is okay, Ryan assured her, his thumb brushing against her knuckles, a small but intimate gesture. We can take our time. I am not going anywhere. His words hung in the air, laced with a promise that both excited and frightened her. Really? She asked, searching his eyes for affirmation. Really, he said, his voice slow and steady. I want to figure out this connection without pressure. You deserve that. The sincerity in his gaze melted Amy's uncertainties, wrapping around her heart with a comforting warmth. Thank you for being so understanding, she murmured, feeling a rush of gratitude. Always, Ryan replied, his voice softening. But I also want you to know that I am genuinely interested in you. This isn't just fun for me. I want to see where this goes. Amy's heart raced at his words, her thoughts swelling with possibilities. Was she truly ready for this? The thrill of potential flickered in the air, mixed with a fear of vulnerability. But as she met Ryan's gaze, those deep blue eyes filled with sincerity, her doubts began to fade. I want to explore this too, she confessed, her heart pounding. But I also worry about getting hurt. Ryan nodded, his expression serious. Trust takes time, Amy, and I promise to respect that. Just then, a gust of wind swirled around them, rustling the leaves and sending a shiver through Amy. She glanced away, her thoughts swelling with the tension of the moment, when she noticed the group of students from the CAF walking along the riverbank, laughter echoing in the air. Great, Amy thought, feeling the tight knot of insecurity twist in her stomach again. Why can't they just stay away? Ryan caught sight of them too, and she could see a flicker of recognition on his face. That is my group, he said, his expression shifting slightly. I didn't know they'd be here. Amy's heart sank, her insecurities rising to the surface. You should probably go say hi, she suggested, forcing a smile. You don't want them to think you're abandoning them. Amy, he said, his tone firm but gentle. I am here with you. That is where I want to be. But you know them. They were your friends, she replied, her voice wavering with uncertainty. I don't want you to feel pressured to stay with me. Ryan studied her, a hint of concern etched on his face. You really think I'd choose them over this moment with you? I just did. Amy hesitated, her heart racing as she struggled to voice her fears. I don't want to be a distraction. I know how social you are. A distraction? He stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating against the cool air. You could never be that. The intensity of his gaze made her breath hitch. But what if you were only interested in having fun? I don't want to be just another fling. Amy, he said softly, his hands gently cupping her face, sending shivers through her. You were anything but a fling. I want to get to know you, the real you. That's why I am here. His words struck a chord deep within her, chipping away at the walls she had built around her heart. Really? She breathed, searching his eyes for honesty. Absolutely, he replied, his thumb brushing against her cheek. But I also want you to feel comfortable. If I need to introduce you to my friends, I will. But please don't push me away just because of them. Amy felt her heart flutter, the warmth of his touch igniting something deep within her. Okay, she whispered, their faces inches apart. Just give me a moment. Take all the time you need, Ryan murmured, his gaze unwavering. As she took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment, she realized that vulnerability could be beautiful. Ryan wasn't just a charming stranger, he was someone who genuinely wanted to explore this connection. Amy, the voice called from the group, pulling her back into reality. Are you joining us? The woman who had approached them earlier stood with her friends, an expectant smile on her face. Amy felt a wave of insecurity wash over her again, the feeling of being an outsider creeping in. Go ahead, Ryan urged gently, his hand still resting on her cheek. But promise me this isn't the end of our conversation. Promise, Amy replied, her heart racing as she reluctantly stepped back. Ryan let his hand drop, and she felt an odd sense of loss at the warmth that had been there just moments before. She turned to face the group, putting on her best smile, trying to shake off the lingering doubts. Hey guys! Amy called, forcing her voice to sound bright.